ever feel like you're just drowning in all the stuff you're supposed to read?
Yeah.
Like, I love reading.
Oh, yeah.
But between like work and, just trying to keep up with everything, and then that TBR pile just never gets any smaller.
Right.
It can be a lot sometimes.
Totally. It's like, when does reading become a chore instead of fun?
That's such a good way to put it. And that's kind of why I'm so excited for this deep dive. It's all about like
Yeah.
rediscovering that joy of reading. And we've got this awesome article from searchsynonym.com.
I love that site.
It's got all these like really practical tips.
Cool.
And it's not just for kids, which I kind of thought it might be.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah, it's got stuff for grown-ups in there too.
Yeah.
Like we all need that reminder sometimes.
We do.
So one of the things I thought was really interesting were all these tips that were like about changing up your environment,
Okay.
like reading with your pet.
Never thought of that.
Really? It works.
Well, apparently furry friends make great listeners. I guess we'll see.
I love that. See, I think that's so smart because your brain loves novelty.
Uh-huh.
So even something as simple as like reading in a different room or taking your book outside,
Yeah,
it can actually make it more enjoyable.
interesting.
Yeah, it's like hitting the refresh button on your reading routine.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
And I'm also kind of notorious for like, I'll sit down, I'm like, I'm going to read for an hour.
Yeah.
And then like 15 minutes in, I'm completely
done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And this article had this whole thing about using a timer and like setting these really manageable chunks,
Oh, interesting.
which I'd never really considered before because I always think I need like a big block of time.
Right. I used to be the same way. I'd be like, 2 hours, got to get through this.
Right.
But honestly, when you break it down, even just like 10 minutes a day,
Mm.
it makes such a difference.
Really?
It feels less daunting, and those little bites of reading add up so fast you'd be surprised.
That timer thing is genius. I'm so going to try that. But sometimes it's not even about like the time or the place or whatever.
Right.
It's the actual book.
Oh, totally.
Like if I'm not into it, I'm just not into it.
Yeah.
And this article really hammers that home.
Yeah.
It's like choose something you're actually interested in, not just what you think you should be reading.
Yes. Because curiosity is like rocket fuel for your brain.
Oh, I like that.
When you're genuinely intrigued, you're going to pay more attention. You'll remember more. And honestly, you'll just enjoy the whole experience so much more.
It makes such a difference. It's like forcing yourself to eat broccoli when you'd rather have like a giant piece of cake.
Exactly. It's got to be something you crave. So tell me, what have you been reading lately? What's got you hooked?
Okay, so lately, I've been on a weird history kick. I don't know what it is, but anything about old maps and lost civilizations.
Oh.
I just find it so fascinating.
See, you've tapped into something that sparks your curiosity. And that's what it's all about. It's not about forcing yourself to read the classics or the latest bestseller. It's about finding those books that speak to you.
And that actually reminds me of another thing for the article. They talked about how reading doesn't have to be this solitary thing.
Yeah.
Like book clubs.
Yes.
That whole idea of sharing the experience.
It's huge. Think about it. Watching a movie with friends versus by yourself. It's just different, right?
Totally.
Reading is the same way. Discussing different interpretations, sharing those aha moments. It just adds this whole other layer of enjoyment.
I've actually never joined a book club.
You should.
Maybe this is my sign.
I think it would be right up your alley. Speaking of making reading more engaging,
Yeah.
one of my favorite tips from the article was about like bringing back the magic of reading aloud.
Oh, yeah, like doing the voices and everything.
Exactly. I remember loving that as a kid. Do you think it still works for adults, though?
I don't know. Why not?
You're right. It totally does. Think about it. For centuries, oral storytelling was how we learned and entertained ourselves. Engaging those senses, sight and sound. It just makes any text come alive. And it can actually help with focus and comprehension, even for us grown-ups.
It's like we're kind of hardwired for it or something.
Yeah, totally. We forget sometimes how powerful that is. So, okay, for anyone listening who's thinking, all right, this is all great, but where do I even start? What's like the one thing you'd want them to take away from all this?
That's a good question.
Is there like one golden nugget of wisdom?
I think what I love about this whole conversation and the article itself is it's really about giving yourself permission
Permission to.
to enjoy reading again,
Yeah.
to not take it so seriously, to experiment, and like you were saying, find what works for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this rigid, boring thing. Like maybe you just need to try a new genre
Right.
or finally create that cozy reading nook you've been dreaming of.
With all the pillows.
Yes,
Yeah.
all the pillows. Or even just giving yourself permission to put a book down if it's not grabbing you.
Oh, that's a hard one.
It's so true, though. Life's too short for books that don't spark joy.
Okay, Marie Kondo, I see you. It's all about finding that, like, playfulness again.
Exactly. Remember being a kid and getting so lost in a book that you'd forget to eat?
Oh, yeah. Or like my mom would call me down for dinner like 5 times.
Yes! Exactly. It's about tapping back into that. And it's there, I promise. We just gotta dust it off sometimes.
I love that. This has been so eye-opening. I'm already thinking about, like, all the ways I can make reading more fun.
Me too. I feel like I need to revamp my whole reading routine now.
Right. Well, for everyone listening, we hope this has sparked some ideas for you too.
Yeah, go forth and rediscover the joy of reading.
Yes. But before we go, one last thing to ponder.
Ooh, I like this part.
If you could design your ultimate reading experience, no limits,
Oh, okay. Ooh, fun.
what would that look like? What would it feel like?
Ooh, and most importantly, what little change can you make today to make it happen?
Ooh, I like that twist. It's like actionable advice.
Right, because what's the point if we don't actually do anything differently?
Exactly.
Hmm.
So let us know. Share your ultimate reading experience dreams with us on social media. Use the hashtag #MakeReadingFun.
Love it. We can't wait to hear what you come up with.
And until next time, happy reading, everyone.
Happy reading.